Today I'm going to show you a few tips on how you can make a really special dessert for your guests if you have people over. Oftentimes the last thing you say to someone is the first thing they'll remember. So it could be the same with your meal. But the last thing that you offer your guests may make a big impression on them. Okay, now I'll show you a few things you can do with pumpkin this time of year. Many people you could roast your own fresh pumpkin and puree it. That takes a long time. Most people prefer to buy it in a can. You can buy it all year round. And on the back of that, there's a recipe for a pumpkin roll. A lot of people like to make that. So I'll just show you a way to make it a little more elegant looking for your guests. What I did is I use a basic recipe you would find on the back of a can. And rather than one big log with slices, I spread it out really thin on two different pans. So you have this, and then at that point, I would cut it to make two small rolls. Obviously you have to roll it up right when you use it, so it looks like this. And the nice thing, because it's so small, it only takes about 10 minutes to cool down before you can fill it. And what I did was I made these in advance and then froze them. And what's nice about freezing is you'll get a really good clean cut when you go to slice the log. You can freeze these several days in advance. You don't want to do it too early because you'll start to get the flavor of the freezer. And if you use this recipe, it doesn't call for much pumpkin. Most people will use a canned pumpkin, so they'll have a lot extra. So what I did is I threw about 1/3 of a cup in the filling and add a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of ginger, just to spice it up. When you do it the small way, you'll get about 4 logs. You get about 12 servings, which is nice. And right here, we'll just go ahead and start plating that. Because it's really soft, you want to contrast it with something that's crispy. The recipe called for nuts. I left those out to keep the roll small, but you can use it here to garnish. So this is candied walnuts. You can make them yourself. You can get them almost anywhere now. And then I will add some whipped cream. To do this, I just use really hot water and a spoon and just kind of go in a little circle motion. And then the other item I use is these phyllo crisps. They're really easy to make. I just use 4 layers of phyllo dough and brush with butter, cinnamon, and sugar in between. You bake them between parchment, and they bake for about 6 minutes, and I just cut random shapes. It doesn't really matter. When I plate also, I like to do things in 3s. I think it looks better than doing 1 roll, 2 rolls. There's something nice about doing uneven numbers when you plate. Also, with the extra pumpkin, it's not something you would typically do, but at home it's fine. I just created a sauce by using a little bit of pumpkin puree and corn syrup and a little spice, and that's it. And there you have a nice plated dessert pumpkin roll. So the last thing I'll show you is a variation on pumpkin pie. What I did is, instead of baking a round pie, I put it here in a rectangle. You could do a square. And I didn't use a typical crust because it's just kind of a headache sometimes to make the perfect crust. I just use here a simple graham cracker. Because you're using such a moist recipe, you literally just would have to crush your graham crackers, put them in the bottom of the pan, because the moisture from the pie, it'll most likely stick together and not crumble on you. And if you put it in a rectangle, then you have a lot less waste when you go to cut it. So what I like to do is just trim off the edges that I don't need, so you can get a nice clean cut. Use a good sharp knife and clean it off in between. I'm going to go ahead and use a square. You can go any shape that you want, whatever you think looks good. So here, just a basic square. And I'm going to go ahead and use that simple pumpkin sauce that we made, just kind of give you something to look at. And again, I'm going to use the same method that I did before with the whipped cream. Just use a really hot spoon and put the whipped cream on there. And then, because this is so soft, I want to balance that out with something crunchy. So I'm using pumpkin seeds here. I candied them. It was really easy. I just boiled sugar with a little bit of water, and then I threw the pumpkin seeds in, put some salt, and the salt will be a nice balance there between sweet and salty. And I mixed them up till they crystallize. And then I made this easy pumpkin seed mousse. It's just whipped cream, and I added ground pumpkin seeds. And it also gives you a nice contrast in texture, and the flavor is really nice and nutty. And then I made these butternut chips. So just dip it in warm simple syrup and dry it out in the oven. So here you have a nice variation on classic pumpkin pie. So we'll share some of these recipes on our blog. If you have any questions, leave us a comment. So in a couple weeks, we'll look forward to sharing some cookie recipes and ideas with you.